Hello, I am Saki, and welcome to Thursday Night Poetry. We are going to do something slightly different tonight. Although I keep saying that every time, so I guess we're just gonna. This is becoming like such a variety show. Anyway, I am gonna read you some poetry though, but instead of doing one old poem and one new poem, well, this week I just didn't finish any new poems. I started three new ones, and yeah, they are just half completed in my notebooks. Anyway, so I'm going to instead read you an old poem and also an old essay that goes with it. So let's see, this is from 2020. I think it was in March or so, or April. And I was standing in line at Joann's to buy fabric, and there was a little conflict that happened. Um, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to read you the poem that I wrote about this incident, and then I'm going to read you an essay that I wrote that led up to the poem. And then I'll read the poem again so that you can. Ooh, yeah, I guess it's so good I'm going to read it to you twice. Okay, here's the poem first. When your toes are tread upon, to stay silent is to say, I'm okay with what you've done, I'll let you have your way. And yet to speak and bring to light your disapproval at this tort is to take part in the fight. Defense comprises half of war. So drop your shields and demonstrate that you intend no harm. Invite them to cooperate, and they may self-disarm. Okay, so now the essay. So this is a long time ago when Facebook had notes, so you could just write a bunch of things and post it, and they don't have that anymore. I'm kind of bummed. Anyway, so here's ooh, does it work? Ooh, clever camera. Standing up for oneself in line. So this is about standing in line and also standing up for oneself in line. Okay, anyway, here we go. This is kind of a long essay, so if you're not into prose, you can just dip out right now, and I'll see you next week on Thursday at 7 p.m. But if you're into essays and stuff, here we go. I think. Oh man. Okay, so the first paragraph is a TLDR version, so I think I'm gonna skip it. Okay, here we go. Long version. I had to go to a Joanne. Let me just start this over. Okay, here we go. I had to go to Joanne to pick up a fabric order. They were allowing only 13 customers to be in the store at once, and the staff not only had to cut fabric and run the registers, but also had to sort and deliver orders for curbside pickup. The rest of the customers lined up outside, 6 feet apart, and the store associates would let one into the store whenever one was let out. When I joined the queue, I was customer number 9. 1 hour later, I was number 2. The lady in front of me made a phone call when she stepped up to the first spot in line. Minutes later, a guy pulled up in the car, parked, and joined her. And then I thought, okay, I guess it's alright if they let a couple in as a unit. But a few minutes later, the store associate unlocked the door and said only one person could enter. The lady went in, and the door was locked behind her. The man continued to stand where he was. After about 20 seconds, I said, "Excuse me, you just cut me in line. You need to stand in line just like everyone else," as I gestured toward the queue that wrapped around the corner. He responded, "Oh, I'm her husband." "Yeah, she stood in line for an hour like the rest of us, but you just got here." "Really? Really, you're gonna be like that? Are you telling me I can't be with my wife?" "I'm telling you you can't just cut in front of me in line." "Okay, well, how about that guy right there?" Gestures to a couple a few spots behind me in line. "Well, how about that guy right there? He's with her. Are you telling me you wouldn't let him go too?" "That guy stood in line with her the whole time, but you didn't." "Look, I drove my wife here and dropped her off, then went to get gas, and I came back." "Oh, I don't care what you were doing. You weren't in line. If you need something from the store, you can call your wife and tell her to buy it for you." And then there's a little aside. "Also, it took you a whole hour to get gas." Okay, let's see, where was I? Wow, you're really gonna be like that? You're really gonna do this to me? Okay, fine, you win. Wow. He actually said all that. I remember that. He really liked the word wow. Okay, anyway, dialogue part is over. And then he retreats to his car and makes a huge gesture of pulling out his phone, presumably to call his wife. I didn't look behind me to see if anyone even witnessed what had happened. The nearest person was more than 6 feet behind me and probably still engrossed in their smartphone. Oh yeah, I didn't have a smartphone back then. So, but everyone else did, and they were just like on their smartphones the entire time in line, and I almost kind of wanted to get one back then. But anyway, so not related. Where was I? I inwardly celebrated for having saved a good 7 minutes for each of the other 20 or so people in line with me. Whether or not there were witnesses, I was a hero. While I was shopping, I replayed the showdown in my head. I lamented over the fact that the world is filled with entitled assholes. And then, of course, I questioned whether or not I was one of them. Okay, a bunch of nested parenthetical expressions. Here we go. Okay, let me just retake that paragraph here. While I was shopping, I replayed the showdown in my head. I lamented over the fact that the world is filled with entitled assholes. And then, of course, I questioned whether or not I was one of them. I decided I wasn't. At least not this time. At least not by most people's standards. But then I thought Mr. Line Cutter would beg to differ. To him, it didn't matter whether I had a right to my spot in line. I denied his right to be with his wife. He probably called her to tell her that some crazy bitch bullied him, so I was the antagonist of his story. Perhaps I fared no better than he did on the cosmic moral scale. He values shopping together with his wife, and I value time. I tread on his rights as much as he tread on mine. Wait, is it tread or treaded? I don't know how to conjugate that verb. Okay, anyway. I got defensive of my rights as he did his. Both of us thought we were right. I pointed a hypocritical finger at him for victimizing himself. Anyway, I shrugged it off as a lost cause. There was nothing I could have done that would have convinced him that he was in the wrong. And at least I did say something. Remaining silent is a form of enabling. The fact that he thought he did nothing wrong suggests that he is a repeat offender with a high success rate. That is to say, he probably pulled off that use my wife to hold my spot in line strategy in the past and met little resistance. Which means that after his wife is done shopping at Joann, they're probably going to do the same shiesty maneuver without thinking it's shiesty at the grocery store, at the pharmacy, at the post office. You can bet that when the economic shit hits the fan, he's going to be cutting in line at the soup kitchen. But I couldn't shrug it off. Winning a war does not bring peace. In order for a resolution to be effective, all parties involved need to agree that the outcome is fair. This reminds me of a puzzle I read when I was a kid. 2 hungry people are fighting over the last slice of pizza, and they agree to split it, but neither of them trusts the other to cut it in half evenly. Whoever slices the slice is likely to cut their portion a bit bigger. So what's the solution? One person divides the slice, and the second gets to choose their half. So, let's apply this to the line cutting situation. Instead of using my superior logic and debate skills to convince him that I was in the right, I should have demonstrated that I cared about his rights too and wanted a fair outcome for both of us. I should have made it less about me. So here's what I would have said if I could change the past. I don't want to separate you from your wife, but by cutting me in line, you're cutting everyone else behind me too. To be fair and respectful of their time, I think you should ask everyone else if they'd be okay with you going before them. And if each and every one of them says yes, then I guess it's not a problem. Okay, so this strategy does have its flaws. It wouldn't work if I were the only person in line. It relies on at least one other person to not be afraid to deny him. It leverages peer pressure instead of logic. Blah, blah, blah. But I still think that this would have been a more effective and educational approach than what I did. The outcome may well have turned out to be the same, but at least I'd feel better about what I had said. The times be tough, people. A crisis can reveal the best and the worst in our fellow humans as well as in ourselves. So let this self-isolation mandate be an opportunity for us to observe and reflect. Our daily struggles to troubleshoot Zoom audio and purchase toilet paper bring inter- and interpersonal conflict to light. Don't drown it out with Netflix. This is an opportunity to learn and perhaps to teach. So, as you stand in line, think about the stance you'd like to take, and then stand up for it. So yeah, I was agonizing over that for all of yesterday, so then I wrote a poem about it. Oh, that's part of what I wrote. I wrote the poem when I wrote this note. I did not write the poem just yesterday. Anyway, here's the poem again a second time because I said I was going to read it a second time. Anyway, poem. Summarizing the essay. When your toes are tread upon, to stay silent is to say, I'm okay with what you've done, I'll let you have your way. And yet to speak and bring to light your disapproval at this tort is to take part in the fight. Defense comprises half of war. So drop your shields and demonstrate that you intend no harm. Invite them to cooperate, and they may self-disarm. Deep. No, I'm just kidding. But I do feel pretty strongly about that. Anyway, thank you for listening. For those of you who made it this far, that was a long essay. I will be back. I'll see you here next Thursday at 7 for Poetry Night. Okay, bye.